Vitam tam sajivam sadvetam savadutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Shcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे must open my eyes because light of knowledge and my eyes but on to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like the bright leaves and fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditions of one child. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are going to complete the Canto 1, Chapter 19, which is the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. So in this chapter, from earlier we know that Parikshit Maharaj is cursed by the uncultured son of a Brahmana, Shamik Rishi, and Shringi. He cursed Parikshit Maharaj because he felt that Parikshit Maharaj has disrespected his father. So he cursed Parikshit Maharaj. And in this chapter, we heard that how Parikshit Maharaj actually took the curse as a blessing, basically, right? So he understood, he reflected on, so the importance of reflection we heard, and we heard very beautiful purport. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that if one sincerely regrets, then by the grace of the Lord, all the sins which are unwillingly committed by a devotee are burnt in the fire of repentance. So very, very important. So that's why that reflection on how I did things and then regret about it. And then what are the 4 R's? Somebody remembers? We discussed about the 4 R's.
Regret, rectify, reinstate was the last part. Regret, rectify.
So the first one is recognition.
Recognition.
We recognize and we reflect. Only when we reflect, then only we will recognize that we did something wrong. Then we can regret. And then we rectify and then we reinstate.
Yes, Mataji.
Force or reinstate. Yeah. So that's very, and then Parikshit Maharaj, he expected that because I did something wrong, some calamity is going to come, and he was ready to accept it because he doesn't want the future generations or future family members to get affected by that bad act of Maharaj Parikshit. Yeah, and so when the news came, so in one purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned a very beautiful point that Shamik Rishi, actually he chastised his son. Why did he do things like that? And at the same time, he offered prayers for his son to not get implicated in this kind of badly cursing, unnecessarily cursing a righteous king like Parikshit Maharaj. So there actually, and he sends the news that so that Parikshit Maharaj knows and he can prepare that he is going to die in a week. So Parikshit Maharaj took it as an as an opportunity to prepare himself, because generally we don't get the death notice, and in his case he took it as an blessing that he knows it, so now he can do something about it. So that part, and then he could have actually reversed the curse, but he did not, because he took it as the will of providence, and because Shamik Rishi was already embarrassed to give the news, and so Parikshit Maharaj didn't say anything at all, because he didn't want to embarrass the sage anymore. That was a very, very important point, that because these kind of things keep happening in life, maybe not cursing but some other things, right? So now we knew that Parikshit Maharaj was fixed in the goal of achieving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, highest goal, completely gave up everything, and he sat on the bank of the Ganga, and the glories of Ganga we heard. And then Parikshit Maharaj decided to fast till death, and all the sages actually um, they congratulated him to have such a thought. They came to meet Parikshit Maharaj. So we heard about even the sages like Vyasadev and Narada. They all came to see King Parikshit, who is a king basically, which is like, because sages are considered to be much higher and more elevated than the kings, but they came to see, because Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee of the Lord. And Maharaj Parikshit, we saw how he received them, which was a very important point. Like culture, we should give proper respect to different people according to their age and their position. And he submits himself to the assembled sages. So he wanted to understand what is the duty of man in general, and then especially those who are going to die. And so he had that desire to hear from those sages. And then, but there was some conflict. I mean, everybody accepted that the goal is to attain the Supreme Lord, go back to Godhead. And but there was difference. There was a, what do I say, there was a conflict between what is the path to reach. So then we see that Sukhdev Goswami appears. And what is it that Parikshit Maharaj aspired for, just in case if he had to take birth again? Somebody remembers the three aspirations he mentioned, that even if I have to take birth again, my desire is to what? Three things.
Yes, Mother, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj said, he wants like unflinching devotion at the lotus feet of Krishna, and he wants the association of devotees. And third thing, he said, friendly relationships with all the living people.
Yeah, so this is very, and this kind of aspiration comes, many other devotees in Krishna's pastime desired this kind of benediction. So very, very nice, like friendly relationship with all, association with devotee, and unflinching service and devotion to Krishna. And then we saw that he was praised by demigods, and he was appreciated by the sages, and we saw the qualities of the sages, right? So that is what we heard in this chapter. And Parikshit Maharaj, he praises the sages, and then he also his humility also was there. Somebody remembers how he expressed his humility and gratitude? He expressed his gratitude and his humility. How was it?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. He bowed down to Sukadeva Goswami and asked questions about the future of the people, the duties of what is the duty of the people in all circumstances, and what is the duty of the.
Yeah.
But like he was very humble and asked, like bowing down, and then he asked.
So So yeah, so remember that one verse that he spoke, that because my forefathers, the Pandavas, are such pure devotees, and I am fortunate because of them. Otherwise, the sages don't want to associate with kings like me. They are like the rejected stool place, kind of the place where people pass to, right? That one verse was there.
Yes.
Anybody remembers? It was there.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Yes,
And then when there was conflict between the sages, among the sages, then Sukdev Goswami enters, and we heard about the beauty of Sukdev Goswami. His complexion was little bluish like Krishna, and his bodily feature, and like how he was naked, and how the women and children, they were mocking and they were following him. And as soon as even Parikshit Maharaj, the king, he offered his prostrated obeisances in front of Sukadev Goswami, then they understood what is this personality, and then they left. And even in the presence of Vyasadev and Narad Muni, it was Sukadev Goswami who was given the seat, the highest seat, so that he can speak. And he is 16-year-old Sukadev. I think he was a little more than 16 years old that time when he entered that assembly. And then in the last section that we are doing now, 29 to 40, so Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring from Sukadev Goswami with deep gratitude in his heart. He received Sukhdev Goswami, and very, very beautiful verses like we heard. Which one was? So somebody remembers some of those? This very beautifully, and Parikshit Maharaj is, the way Parikshit Maharaj is interacting with Sukhdev Goswami. Somebody remembers anything? So that verse, very famous verse, where Parikshit Maharaj says, even by remembering you, our household could be purified. Then what to speak of you being present in person here and giving us the opportunity to wash your lotus feet and take that water. So that kind of, like, even by remembering a great personality like Sukdev Goswami, we can be purified, our hearts and our house and everything can be purified. So that is one of my, actually, when I read first canto first time, that was one of my favorite verses. Simply by remembering you, our houses become sanctified. Verse number 33. And then he said, our greatest sins can be vanquished, just as the atheists are vanquished by the presence of the Lord. Right? So we did until 36, right? Today we have to do 37. So, yes, and then he spoke about Krishna's affection for the Pandavas. So now let us do the last few verses, 30, starting from 37. 1 second, let me share my screen. Oh, thank you, Shruti Mataji, for joining after a long time. I was thinking what had happened. I don't see you guys anymore.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Oops. All right, so let's continue from verse number 37. Someone wants to read?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes.
Thank you. Yoginam Paramam Guru Purusasya Yat Karya Vimriya Manasya Sarvatha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You are the spiritual master of great saint and devotee. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons and especially for one who is about to die. Unless one is perfectly anxious in inquiry about the way of perfection, there is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not a kind of decoration for the householder. Generally, a fashionable materialist engages a so-called spiritual master without any profit. The senior spiritual master flatters the so-called disciple, and thereby both the master and his word go to hell without a doubt. Maharaj Parikshit is the right type of disciple because he put forward questions vital to the interest of all men, particularly for a dying man. The questions put forward by Parikshit Maharaj is the basic principles of complete there of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let us see how intelligently the great master replies. Hari Bol. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
You want to say something, Kalpana Mata?
Maharaj Parikshit is asking to Sukadev Goswami to show the way of perfection for all living being, and especially for one who is about to die.
Yeah, so and in the purport Srila Prabhupada is describing, so generally like we see in general, people in general, not the devotees, but in general, when people meet saintly personality, what do they ask? Oh, how can my son be married to tell us something so that my son gets a good job, or I get a good job, or I get a good wife or husband, like that, right? People generally ask. But actually, to saintly personalities and spiritual master, the inquiry should be about getting the perfection in this lifetime. What should I do so that I can attain the perfection of human form of life? I can fulfill the purpose of human form of life. What is that purpose? Is self-realization and the realization of the Supreme Lord. And that happens simultaneously if we go through the right path of bhakti. It's not, and some people just out of fashion, for fashion, oh, we should accept a guru. So anybody they accept that kind of guru, right? Just to, oh, all my friends have a guru, so I should also have a guru. So and this question that Parikshit Maharaj has asked, it is not only for his it's beneficial for him, but it's for everyone actually. So he's asking that what is the you to show the way of perfection for all persons, not only, and especially for one who is about to die. So he's asking so that all of us can, he knew it, but for the benefit of all, he is asking, and he's put into such situation for us so that this Bhagavatam could be spoken for our ultimate well-being. And we know from the third chapter, from the last question that was asked by the sages, where will the religious principle reside when Krishna has gone? And they are in Srimad Bhagavatam. This Srimad Bhagavatam is like a moon. The sun of Krishna has set, but the Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen like the cooling, soothing moon, which is the true refuge of people of age of Kali, who are what? Prayana alpayusya sabdam Kalo asmin yuge jamna manda sumandamatya manda bhagyahi upadrita, who are always disturbed, unlucky, short-lived, and they get cheated. They are always in anxiety, always quarreling. So for them, for us, it is this Srimad Bhagavatam that is our true refuge, because it is fully, completely transcendental to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, complete glorification of the Supreme Lord, and only that glorification of the Supreme Lord can give satisfaction to the heart, right? All right, so let's move on to the next verse.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, sure, Mataji, please.
Thank you. Yat shrotavyam atho japyam yat kartavyam narvi prabho smratavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yadva vipravyayam. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. Yeah, there is no purport, right?
Yeah. No purport.
Yeah, so now the Parikshit Maharaj asking Sukhdev Goswami what he has to, like what we have to chant for, to whom we have to worship, to whom we have to remember, the person who is going to be die, and what he should not do. So please explain all these things.
Yeah. So he is basically asking about the process of devotional services. There are 9, right? Sharanam, Sharanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakam, Atmavednam. So hearing, chanting, and remembering, he's asking and worshipping. So yeah, so he's basically asking about what kind of devotional services one should engage in. All right. So let's move on to verse number 39, and then we have one more 40. Someone wants to read?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Text 39. Nyunam bhagavato brahman grahe sugraha medinam la lakshyate hi avasthanam api go dohanam kvachit. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O powerful Brahmana, it is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough to milk a cow. Purport. The saints and sages in the renounced order of life go to the houses of the householders at the time they milk the cows, early in the morning, and ask for some quantity of milk for subsistence. A pound of milk fresh from the milk bag of a cow is sufficient to feed an adult with all vitamin values, and therefore saints and sages live only on milk. Even the poorest of the householders keep at least 10 cows, each delivering 12 to 20 quarts of milk, and therefore no one hesitates to spare a few pounds of milk for the mendicants. It is the duty of householders to maintain the saints and sages, like the children. So a saint like Shukadeva Goswami would hardly stay at the house of a householder for more than 5 minutes in the morning. In other words, such saints were rarely seen in the houses of householders, and Maharaj Parikshit therefore prayed to him to instruct him as soon as possible. The householders also should be intelligent enough to get some transcendental information from visiting sages. The householder should not foolishly ask a saint to deliver what is available in the market. That should not be a reciprocal relation between the saint and the householders.
Yeah, want to say something?
Yeah, Mataji, it's clear that the saints, renounced saints, they don't stay before the householders for more than 5 minutes. They only go during the time of milking the cow, and they just get a sufficient amount for drinking, and they sustain only by drinking milk, because the milk gives them all vitamins needed to sustain their body. And also they say, Prabhupada says that the great saint like Shukadeva Goswami would never stay in anybody's house more than 5 minutes. So we really need to make sure during that time the householders really associate and get the true meaning of life from them, rather than concerned on material things. So they should be knowing exactly what they need to get from the saints, like greats like Shukadeva Goswami.
Yeah. So in the previous purport, also in one purport that we read today, also Srila Prabhupada mentions that what type of things should be asked from a saintly personality, right? Here also, because there was not much time, and generally the saints, and he is going to stay for 7 days because of Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee, and the discussion is only about the glories of Krishna and his devotees, nothing else. That's why he is going to stay there for a week, the whole week, until Parikshit Maharaj leaves his body. So, and this point where somebody remembers, we heard this exactly similar verse somewhere else in Bhagavatam, in this first canto. Someone remembers, where was it?
I think when we were talking about the qualities of all the different kinds of saints, and I think during the Narad Muni's pastime, when we said different kinds of people who go around, like some people just like Parikshit Maharaj stays only for a few minutes. And then there was also the talk about in Chaturmas, they will stay like for 4 months in a house.
No, it wasn't. So it was actually in the 4th chapter, after the incarnations chapter, in 3rd chapter, after 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, the sages again asked the questions, and then it was about the history of how the Bhagavatam came into being. Then the Sukadeva Goswami's question was asked, and then it was about Sukadeva Goswami in 4th chapter. There it was said that he won't stay even for he would stay at a household's home only for the time of cow milking only. That 4th chapter, in the 4th chapter of 1st canto, Sukadeva Goswami, it was about Sukadeva Goswami only.
So what I was referring, Mataji, is about the different
those different kind of, those you are talking about, the different kind of sannyasis. Chaka, Paramahamsa, Bahutaka, Kuti Chaka, those 4 who just stay at the, they don't go, some in the beginning they go for Madhukari, and then some on its own accord, if somebody comes and give them something, they will take those kind of, that is a different, that is like different types of sannyasis you are talking about. But exactly this was asked about Sukadeva Goswami in, it was told about Sukadeva Goswami in the 4th chapter.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So last verse for this canto.
I can read, Mataji.
Yeah.
Sutta uvacha evam abhashita prashni sa ragya sulakshanaya gira pratyabhashata dhamagyo bhagavan badarayani. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Sutta Goswami said, the king thus spoke and questioned the sage using sweet language. Then the great and powerful personality, the son of Vyasadeva, who knew the principle of religion, began his reply. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of 1st canto, 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Sukadeva Goswami, end of the 1st canto.
Hari Bol. So we completed 1st canto. Okay, devotees. So anybody wants to say anything, share anything? So I don't know if we should start the 2nd canto today itself, or should we do it tomorrow?
I think, Mataji, we should reflect on what
So let us talk few things about, everybody share your journey throughout this 1st canto, and like what did it do to everyone's heart